Chris, welcome to the Better Project podcast. For people who don't know who you are, what's the earliest context that we need to know about you to better understand the man that sits in front of us today?
Grew up in Western Sydney, Colleton, Mount Druitt. Rough childhood, wasn't easy. Public school system was great. I did boxing as a kid. And yeah, I had to make a choice not too long ago, probably about 5 years ago. I had to make a choice when I got divorced, lost pretty much everything, and either stay here and keep getting in trouble or pack up and go somewhere else.
What were you like as a kid? Like you mentioned, you growing up in Mount Druitt, Colleton, moved around a bit.
Yeah.
Were you a troublemaker?
I wasn't a troublemaker. I was a kid that got picked on.
Really?
So I was a tall, fat, red-headed kid that was easy pickings.
No hair now.
No hair now.
Someone shaved it off.
Yeah, all shaved off. But back then, like the undercut was the go-to. But yeah, I got picked on and I had a short temper. So probably at the age of 16, I started boxing and sort of everything's changed for me.
Where did that short temper come from? Were you like a really angry kid?
Yeah.
Was it from that bully?
Yeah, probably was. Yeah, look, back then it was pretty rough growing up. And so yeah, like I countless fights at school, and then after sort of year 7 and 8, when there were private schools, a bit different, but I still sort of had that mentality. So, and then after there, I went to a senior college out of Quaggas Hill. But in that sort of between sort of 10 and 11, I then met all my mates from Mount Druitt, and that was just totally different. Like the boys are, they're good boys, like, and friendship and brotherhood, and, those things mean something, so they're not there just putting shit on everybody. You know? Like they're looking after each other. So
it's that connection piece.
Yeah.
They're your brothers, but sometimes they can lead you down the wrong path.
Certainly. Yeah.
Did you get led down the wrong path?
Oh, look, everybody, I wouldn't say anybody in particular led me down any path. I had a choice.
Yes.
So, but was I doing some things I probably shouldn't have? Yeah, I would say that 100%, because, back then you're young, you're carefree, and, you kind of do things that are new. But yeah, grew up in Mount Druitt, mate. What do you say?
So it's all a part of it, eh?
Yeah.
You mentioned boxing. Were you a good boxer?
Well, look, I was 16, I had 22 fights, I lost 6. I would like to think that I was a fairly good boxer back then, until I broke my hand. And no, not broke my hand, actually. I dislocated my shoulder at the age of 19, and that was it. That was the end for me.
Why's that?
Fell off a PV80 on Boxing Day in the middle of nowhere, past Canberra, and shoulder was dislocated for 22 hours. So after you do your shoulder that bad, that's it. You never get it back.
What was that like? Because I'm assuming boxing was a big part of your childhood and your teenage years, to then have it, in a way, taken away from you.
Yeah.
Was there a mental struggle there, or a bit of a maybe identity crisis? Because were you seen as a boxer?
Well, no, I wasn't, because I kind of kept that thing under wraps, right? If you grew up in Mount Druitt and you go around telling everyone you're a boxer, the next minute everybody wants to fight you. So, I mean, nobody can. There was some of my mates knew that, but a lot of them didn't, and it wasn't something that I promoted. I'm a very private person, so I've been on the podcast. He's pretty, pretty outgoing, I'm not really used to that. But look, I would say that it was challenging for me for a period of time. I tried to get back into it, and then I couldn't. And I guess when you sort of don't do something straight away, you start to do other things, and that's probably what would have led me down the wrong path a little bit, maybe doing some things that you probably shouldn't do.
Because how old were you? Did you say 18, 19 or?
So I was 16 when I was boxing. I boxed for about 2 years. So I'd say, about 18. That was boxing was over, and
partying, girls, all that stuff.
Look, raves, everything like that. So all that sort of stuff happened, and
And then you got into a relationship where you had 2 beautiful girls.
Yep.
How old were you when that happened?
So I got into that relationship probably around 25, I would
25,
say.
Yep.
So after sort of the boxing thing, moved down to Kiama, spent a year down there, crazy time down there, it was really good. And then moved back to Mount Druitt. And then, I got myself a place when I was about 24 and then met somebody and, she had a couple of kids and then soon after that, I'll probably say another 5 years after that, probably I had my first daughter and she was born with some disabilities and needed, spent 2 years in ICU, multiple heart operations and things like that. So that was pretty taxing. And then, had a 6-year-old, had another daughter quite some time after. So about 4 years after my first one.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, back when your first daughter was born, she was in ICU. Take me back to that moment. Like, what's it like? Because I remember when my daughter was born, she wasn't in ICU, so I get to hold her straight away and have that connection and start building a relationship with her. But for you, it would have been a whole different ball game. And your first daughter too, like you would have just wanted to connect.
Of course.
And it would have been heartbreaking to see her go through all that stuff and the surgeries.
Yeah.
What impact did that have on you?
Look, it was traumatic, to be honest. Look, we kind of knew she had something wrong with her before she was born, so we knew that we weren't going to get to hold of her. She was going to go straight, to the doctors and just about almost to the operating theatre. So I'd already told her mum at the time that I wouldn't hold her until she got to, because I think it's very important that the mum makes that first connection.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, look, it was really taxing and it was tough. But I remember being in going back and forth to Westmead Children's Hospital. There was always other kids that were worse off. So I was always, I was lucky that she was still here. First operation she had was 7 days after she was born. It didn't work. And she come back, heart was open, like her chest was open, lung on that ECMO, lung, heart, kidney bypass machine. That was the scariest day of my life.
I couldn't imagine seeing your own child in that situation right there.
Yeah, it was tough. It was fucking hard. The surgeon at the time, he was the best in Australia with heart surgeries, and what it was the valve that he put in her heart was like 0.1 of a millimetre too big. Oh. So not even a hair strand too big. Next day he went back in and changed it and she was all right. But then it was back in, she was in there for 2 years in total, multiple other operations. She's 10 now, which is great. She's doing well. But yeah, it's tough. But we saw some other kids in there. One of my other friends, he had a son who was going through chemo at the time. So I'd spoken to his mum at the time as well to try and give her some, positive. You have to try and stay positive.
You have to, especially in a hospital environment when it's quite depressing.
It's terrible. And I guess the biggest thing is you don't know where to go to get support that you need.
Yeah.
Who do you ask? What do you say? A lot of people come to you and ask you, oh, how's your daughter? How's it going? You know what? That's the number one thing that people keep doing, and you get sick and tired of saying the same story over and over again.
Did you shut off during that period?
I think, I would say I do. You go blank, but then I also spoke to another couple that was in Queensland, had a daughter go through the same thing, so it was refreshing for them to sort of fill my cup up with, this is what we went through. What about this and think about that, and because they've been there and done that, so then you get that knowledge from them, because it's like it's all new and unknown, right?
And you feel like you're the only one too.
You're the only one, yeah. So it's really tough. But we saw some other kids in there. There was one boy in there in particular. He was 10 at the time and hadn't left hospital. Like he'd never left hospital. He couldn't move, couldn't talk. And his parents got his whole house done up by the government to bring him home, and they didn't take him home. It was too difficult. So I think it was his 10th birthday. We bought him a present. This kid was going berserk, like moving, his eyes blinking, his head moving. He was so happy, And right then I just knew, fuck, we don't we think we've got it hard.
Yeah.
There's always somebody worse, right?
puts life into perspective.
100%.
And like, it gets me emotional knowing that other children are going through that when my daughter, in my eyes, is perfect, right?
Yeah.
She's healthy,
Yeah.
she's happy, she's laughing. And we get to spend so much quality time together playing. And it really does, as a father, make you realize what truly is important, because there's so many other parents that wish that they were in your position.
Of course.
And we just can't take that stuff for granted because we don't know what's around the corner.
No, and I think the biggest thing in my life was I was in Samoa in 2009 and they had the tsunami. I was there for my brother's sister. He got married over there, so we're there for a wedding. And when I came back, I remember going to Red Rooster. Like, I never knew why the boys were always taking clothes and giving it to their family over there, you know. And then I realised when I was over there and I was giving my stuff to their cousin too that come from another village. And I come back to Red Rooster and somebody was going off about their fucking potatoes. Like, they're not cooked, this, that, the other, swearing at the lady. And I looked at this bloke and he goes, "Oh, you got a problem?" I said, "No, mate." I said, "But fucking potato, like, there's people in this world that got it worse than us, and you're abusing this lady over a fucking potato not being cooked.
Mm-hmm.
Be grateful you even got a potato to eat, mate." You know, so I guess in life you always have to learn that, there's always somebody worse off, and when you think you've got it tough, there's actually somebody wishing they were sitting in your shoes right now.
Definitely agree. Like, I recently got back from Bali, and even going over there and seeing the way that they live, and compared to our standard of living, they got nothing.
Yeah.
But they all have smiles on their face, all right?
Of course.
You know, the traffic, the chaos, everything over there. Imagine if something like that happened here. Punch-ons every 2 seconds. Yet there's nearly collision and they're just smiling and they just drive past you. And for me, that was a massive eye-opener to, like, what are we worrying about in life?
Yeah.
Like, is it really worth wasting negative energy on something that's not really worth it?
Yeah.
When it is what it is.
Yeah.
Life will continue on, and people get in this mindset of, you know, one bad thing happens, so that puts them in a negative mindset, and then they wonder why more negative things continue to happen over the course of the day. And it's like, they get to the end of the day and it's like, I had a bad day today. And it's like, no, you just had one bad moment that you let compound into multiple more.
100%.
And it really does put life into perspective and how you should live it.
Yeah. Well, people ask me, it goes, "Oh, how are you?" And I said, "Well, mate, I woke up, I'm breathing, so I'm blessed." Right? Every day is the same. If you wake up and you breathe, mate, you're blessed.
Definitely agree. And take me back to that moment where you got to take your daughter home for the first time.
Yeah.
What emotions are you feeling, knowing that the last 2 years, in a way, has been traumatizing for everyone in that situation, to then go, wow, I get to actually take my daughter home?
Look, it was very surreal, to be honest, because, like, we had to take machines still with us, and it was a day pass. So it wasn't even like you're taking her home. It was a day pass.
Mm.
So we got to take her home for the day and had to come back at night. So it was a bit like that for some time. But when we finally got to take her home, you didn't know yourself. You know, like, we had to be trained up like a nurse would to look after her because she had a tracheostomy and there was medication we had to give her and everything like that. So it was very surreal, especially being there for such a long time. Yeah.
And what are the challenges now having a daughter with, like, disabilities?
Well, look, she's a lot better now. She doesn't have a tracheostomy.
Yeah.
They say that she's got high functioning autism.
Mm-hmm.
But the health side of things are a lot less. So, like, she gets the flu quite easily. She repeats things, you know. But on the scale of what it was, nothing like that. Look, my wife and I, we took her and my youngest to Disneyland last year.
I should have loved that.
Well, you know what? When she was, I'll never forget the day. We're in ICU and I promised her. I said, "If you get better, I promise you one day I'm going to take you to Disneyland." And if it wasn't for my wife, Jess, she's so beautiful. If it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have been able to do that. But it was. We took him. We went to Hawaii and took him to Disneyland. That was just next level.
That's what life's about.
Yeah,
it honestly
definitely is.
Like, having those experiences and creating those memories with the people that you love is so, so important.
Yeah, and we take that for granted. It's, like it's sad that we do, because in the moment you're not thinking about that. If you really sit still and think about what's important, it's not how much money you spend on something. It's not where you go. It's the time and what you give to your child.
That's it. Yeah, that's the biggest thing that I've learned becoming a dad is they just want your time.
Yeah,
they don't care about the stuff that you buy them.
Yeah,
it's like, let's spend time together. Let's go at the back, play in the sandpit, whatever the case is. They just want your time.
Yeah.
You get so many people think it's the opposite where, oh, if I just buy them stuff, they'll be happy. It's like, no. The reason they think it's the way love is shown is because that's the only way they will show love.
That's right.
How were you shown love growing up?
Look, my parents moved from Holland in 84, I think. And my dad was a hard man.
Yeah.
European.
Yeah.
Right? Hard and like stone cold, but he also showed a lot of love too. And I'm a mum's boy, obviously.
Same here.
Mum always had my back growing up at school. She was the one that they'd ring if I got suspended, and she always looked after me. But look, I came from a really good, loving household. So my parents are still very, very much active in my life and my sisters now. I've only got one sibling. I've got a sister. But yeah, we're blessed. I would have to say that if it wasn't for the home life that we had, we wouldn't be the people we are now.
Was he someone that just like he created the love without actually saying I love you, or did he actually say I love you?
Oh, he said I love you. My dad gave me a kiss and a hug because his dad didn't do that to him.
Yeah, okay.
So he wanted to break that cycle. I mean, I don't know how you feel about your kids now, but I know that when I was growing up, as a teenager, something would happen at home with my parents. I'd get punished for something, whatever it may be. Or you weren't allowed to have motorbikes. And I would go, well, when I have kids, I'm going to let them do that. You know what I mean? So you try and do that one step better from what your parents did for you. Or you'd always like to, right?
Mm-hmm.
So no, my dad was very loving. He hugged me. You wouldn't see him cry. But he'd hug you.
Have you ever seen him cry?
I have, and it was one time we came back from Holland. We were in Holland for about 8 weeks, and we were seeing family. And we come back to Australia, and he cried. He was happy to be home.
Yeah. I sit here and think about my own father, and coming back to, I always say, as a dad, you want to be better than your own parents. It's not to say that were bad, but you're just doing the best with the tools that you have, right?
Yep.
And for me, a big part was I want to have a deep connection with my daughter because I never had a strong connection with my own dad.
Yes.
And that's a massive thing that I've really focused on with my own daughter and my future kids is like connection, because that is what I lacked growing up. And now thinking about my own dad, now I've never seen him cry. Yeah. He's always been, I guess, that old-fashioned, strong masculine.
Yes.
That just shows no emotions. Yeah. Yet for him, he has a lot of bottled up emotions that he hasn't been able to let out. Yep. Was your dad very similar, or did he?
Yeah, he. Look, I think that was what it was like back then, right? We were, they would have been raised and taught, you're a man, suck it up,
don't cry,
concrete. Yeah. You know, like you keep that shit to yourself and you deal with that. Where I think now we're sort of, the society is trying to encourage men to be in touch with your feelings, you know, and tell people how you're feeling, get it off your chest, you know. But yeah, he was very much like that.
And from seeing that, what is now your, I guess, relationship with yourself and your emotions? Do you express them? Because you just mentioned society is pushing men to show their emotions. Yeah. And I definitely agree with that, but there's also a fine line of
definitely
showing your emotions and then going too far on the feminine side where you're not actually being a man. Yeah. It's like a time and place. Yeah. What is your relationship with your emotions?
Well, look, I tell my wife everything. So, I mean, I'm vulnerable to her because she's my best mate. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Still speak to my parents, But at the same token, you see me in the street, you see me, I'm covered in tattoos, you think, oh, look at this tough bastard.
Yeah.
Right? You're not going to see that side of me. You know, a lot of people aren't going to, I don't show myself to everybody. I think it's important to, there's a time, like you said, there's a time and a place. But you have to be in touch with your own emotions mentally, because if you're not, you'll hold it together, bottle it up, and then something's going to happen and you'll break.
Mm. And for you, what has been that journey like to build a relationship with yourself and your emotions? Have you done any like inner work or?
Yeah. Look, after my divorce, like I said before, I had the choice of stay in Mount Druitt, Western Sydney, and get up to mischief like everyone else, which would lead down to two paths, dead or in jail, or pack up and start somewhere else away from everybody. Sometimes you have to take yourself out of those environments. And I went to Cronulla, and I did a lot of soul searching, a lot of work. There was a few times there that I thought about, it was too much. I was going to knock myself.
Really?
Yeah. I was walking on the Esplanade. I'd walk 2-3 times a day. I'd be getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning. I'd go to drive to some areas to work. I'd come home 6-7 o'clock at night. Then I'd be walking the Esplanade at 9-10 o'clock at night. And then I'd get up and do it all again. It was a struggle. Go to the gym, work on yourself.
Was there a darker day?
Look, I think when you lose everything, you go through divorce. You go through some other pretty hard things. You're not seeing your kids. You're kind of segregated now. You're on your own. Nobody's there to save you. I don't think there is, to be honest.
I want to ask you, are you by any chance like a man of faith or anything, or do you believe in a higher power? Or?
Yeah, look, I do. I believe in the universe. I believe in God. I believe in angels. And I believe that my grandma's watching over me, and she has done so for a very, very long time. After I was very close with her, so was my sister. But yeah, I don't go to church. I'm a Catholic, a Christian. My wife tells me they mean different things, but to me, you know what? If you believe in God, that's all that matters, right? Yeah. But yeah, I do believe in a higher power. I do believe in God. I believe in the universe and things like that. Yeah.
The reason I ask that is a lot of men that are going through struggles and adversity right now, they may not have a connection to God, to faith or anything like that, and they think the whole world's on their shoulders and they have to get through everything themselves, which then puts them down a darker hole that they feel like they can't get out of, which is why I feel it's very important to have faith in something, have hope in something, because if you have that, you're going to release that pressure that you're putting on yourself. So that's why I wanted to ask, because I feel like if you didn't have that, you may not even be sitting here today.
Yeah, look, I 100% agree. You have to have faith. Like, things get tough, but what about the good days? So I always listen to sort of inspirational podcasts. I listen to, I search for stuff sometimes. When I'm going for a really, really tough time and it's hard, I search to find some answers. And I say to the universe, show me this, or what are you teaching me? I used to be so hard on myself, and it was, life sucks, this is hard, and why are you doing this to me? And now it's kind of like, well, what are you teaching me? Now I go looking for the answers, and all it takes is that one little break or that one good thing to happen, but you need to stand still and acknowledge that to try and pull yourself out.
Definitely. Life happens for you, not to you. Right?
That's right. Yeah, definitely.
And when we go through all different seasons within our life, some better than others.
Yep.
And I think it's just understanding that that's what life's about.
Yeah.
And there's going to be good, there's going to be bad. And I don't even think it is bad. It's more so, it's just a lower point in your life, but you're going to learn so many lessons that you're going to take into the next season of your life. So just embracing it for what it is. And if you have that faith and that hope in your life, you're going to get through anything that comes your way.
That's right. Well, things make you stronger, right?
Mm-hmm. And I think that is why I love having these conversations. Because as you said, walking down the street, people see you, right? Big, tall, muscly, muscly guy tattoos.
Yeah.
People will probably have the persona of, fuck, who is this guy?
Yeah.
He thinks he can do it all himself, you know, strong ego, all that kind of stuff. Yet down deep, by you having that faith and that hope, it's gotten you through those adversities that have come your way. And it's so important that we have that in our life.
Yeah, definitely.
You mentioned your wife, Jess.
Yes.
What role has she played in the man that you are today?
Oh, shit. I can tell you, if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be here. So I met Jess when I moved to Cronulla. I think it took me 6 months before I met her, and that was funny. I didn't do social media, didn't do any of that stuff when I moved. I cancelled everything. I was locked down, COVID, everyone stuck at home. So I jumped on Tinder, and I met this girl. She was 500 metres down the road from my house. Never met her before. And we just clicked. Look, in that time that I was going on those walks, I was identifying, so obviously I had my previous marriage breakdown, and I had all those problems, very toxic. I was identifying what I did wrong.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what role do you feel like you played in that breakdown?
50-50, mate.
Yeah.
It's never one-sided. If somebody tells you it's all them or it's not, you know, like it's 50-50.
Where do you feel you lacked?
I lacked, you know what, I left for work and I came home and I thought that I didn't have to do anything.
Yeah, okay.
So I thought that all I had to do is go to work and come home.
Mm-hmm.
Life's not like that. You know, you got kids, you have to help around the house. You have to do these things, you know, like you have to pull your weight, you know. You don't get married to your mum, you know. So, yeah, I guess that was part of it. But yeah, after I met Jess, I really wanted to be that better man, you know. I wanted to come home and clean up or cook dinner, you know, and you'll find now, and it has been for a very, very long time, Jess and I, we both own our own businesses, both very, very busy. And sometimes she'd be working late at night. I'm home before her. I've left at night. I've left in dark and I've come home in dark. She'll get up when it's light and get home in dark, but I will still now go and cook for her before she comes home because I know she's come home after me.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll get up at 2:30 every morning to go to work every day. You know, except obviously the weekends I've got the girls. I've got my son Carter too. But I'll get up at 2:30 and sometimes I don't get home till 5, 6, 7 o'clock at night. And that's just my day.
Okay, how many hours a night do you sleep?
5.
5? Okay.
4 or 5. If I get 5, I'm lucky.
How does that impact your day-to-day life? Like, or are you just used to it?
I've been doing it. Yeah, look, I moved to Cronulla almost 5 years ago and I got up every day at 3 o'clock in the morning and I drove to St Mary's.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm kind of used to that. So I'm conditioned for that now.
There's more so that mentality of you just got to do what you got to do, right?
Well, so if I get up at 2:30, so I start at 3 to 6, nobody contacts me. That's 3 hours. I put my headphones on, I'm doing my quoting. I've just got a whole day's worth of work in.
Yeah.
Then the next sort of 6 to 8 hours is, let's call it another day. So then I'm already a day ahead of my competition every day of the week. So it's tough, but I'm just used to it now.
Then you mentioned you and your partner have businesses.
Yeah.
How does that impact the relationship when you're both so highly focused on what you guys are doing?
Yeah.
When do you have time for each other?
Well, see, that's the thing. She's great at this because she doesn't want to have a mediocre relationship. She wants to do things. She wants to spend time. So she's very quick to pull me up if I'm not giving her any attention or I'm not spending time with her. But I would say we make Sundays family time, right? So she works Saturdays, I don't. And we have dinner every night together. But when we have dinner or when we get into bed to watch TV, we sit down, we're asking each other how our days are. We're giving each other that attention. But we're also helping each other at home. So It's not easy, but it does work.
It's the small things that matter, eh?
Yeah.
As you said, cooking the dinner or just simply taking 10 minutes to have a conversation, see how your day's going.
Yep.
And that's what counts, because if you just went to work, did work, come home and didn't talk to each other, like you're just coexisting. You're not actually in a relationship.
Yeah.
So it's important to have that. And then also having that Sunday just as family time. And it's a big thing that I've learned to implement too, because I was like all gung-ho on the podcast, on the business, and you get so caught up in it that you neglect your relationship.
Yeah.
And the thing is, you can achieve all the goals you want in business and you can be at the top of the mountain, but what happens if you neglect your relationship and you look around at the top of the mountain, you've got no one there? Is it really worth it?
It all falls down, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I'm assuming you learnt the hard way through your divorce because you were so focused on life and business that you neglected that relationship.
Yeah, look, I would say neglect the relationship. I probably wouldn't say I did that. I would probably say to an extent I helped cause the demise of the relationship.
Yep.
But I totally agree with you in regards to, neglecting your relationship, especially when you're so focused. So us men, obviously, we put our blinkers on and we go for something, right? But then we forget about all the small things which actually mean more than what we're just, you know what I mean? Like your daughter, for instance, that you coming home at the end of the day and spending 10 minutes just holding her, just, instead of sitting there on your phone while she's playing there, like that's doesn't take you that long, does it?
No.
And that means more than anything. Then if during the week you don't do that, but then once a month you go on a holiday, you got it all wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So, but yeah, you're right. You have to make sure that you're doing all those small things because they're what matters.
Definitely. And then you add kids into the situation as well. And I know family is a massive part of your, just go through your social media. Yeah. It's all your kids. So I know family for you is a really high value.
Yeah.
How do you balance everything? Like we just spoke about your relationship with your wife. How do you balance everything with the kids now?
Shit. It's not easy. Look, I say to my wife all the time, I say, like, I'm not perfect and I don't claim to be. I'm no way, shape or form do I think I'm a perfect man of anything. And I fuck up every time. But now these days I say, well, look, I'm sorry. I acknowledge that haven't done my part here. I'm going to fix that. But look, we get the girls once a fortnight and half the holidays. I like them to spend time with my parents as well because my parents live in Mudgee now.
Okay.
Quite some time. Yeah, it's a good 4-hour drive, and they're getting on as well. So I want them to have that connection. But my wife's helping me make sure that I'm juggling all of it. But now what I do when I come home, I have to switch off, turn that phone off, spend that time. Like I've got my son every day, so I've got an opportunity now to be even better for him. So it's hard, but something just takes over. You just switch off.
And what's it like having a son now? Like a lot of men, like obviously all kids are great, right? But a lot of men want a boy to pass down, I guess, that legacy and everything else.
Yeah.
For you, finding out that you're gonna have a boy, then he's born, and then holding him, what's it like being a dad to a little boy?
Oh, I can't explain that. Look, my dad is the last Van Dijk in his family. He had 8 sisters.
Oh, wow.
So he was the only boy.
I told my partner that we're going to continue having kids until we get a boy.
And I've got 1 sister, so I'm the only boy. And then I had 2 girls. I didn't want kids again after the divorce. And my wife now. She didn't want kids at the time, but then sort of she changed. So to actually get a son, I just think, wow, yeah, I could teach him boxing. I really am going to make sure that I make sure that I better myself, health wise. I don't vape anymore. I don't smoke. Do you know what I mean? I don't go out to the pub and get on the piss. I don't, go and party with my mates. I don't do any of that, and I haven't for a long time. But it's just amazing. It really is.
And it's about leading by example,
That's right.
Because I say this to so many dads out there is like anyone can be a father, but not anyone can be a dad. To actually turn up, to build the foundations, to lead by example, and no matter what you go through, to continue turning up for your kids.
Yeah.
Because they look up to you. You're their superhero. Yeah. Right? And your son is going to look up to you as a superhero. So you've got to be there as that superhero and lead by example for him. So it's so important as dads to actually turn up. And I respect you as a dad because especially with your daughter, you know, having disabilities, like so many dads will be like, fuck, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
But you kept turning up for them. Yeah. And it's so important. So, man, dad to dad, like, thank you for being a dad because there is so many children out there that don't have a strong dad in their life. Yeah. Strong role models in their life because they fuck off. Yeah. Essentially. And it's fucked because it impacts the kids.
Oh, it definitely does. Yeah, look, it's not easy being a parent. Like, it really isn't. There's no right from wrong. Like, you've got to learn that shit on the fly, you know. But yeah, the number one thing is having a supporting, loving household. And I think that's, you know, I might not have succeeded in having that in the past, but it's certainly something that I have now. And my wife and I, we always send each other videos, you know, because I've never raised my voice at my wife. You know, we've never spawned at each other. We don't yell. We don't fight. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes in relationships, you'll have a disagreement, but there's no toxicity in my relationship now. I had a lot in my previous relationship, and when I first got with my now wife, I was like, someone pinched me. It's fucking normal. Like,
too good to be true.
We're not fighting, like, we're not yelling, but I also had to, when something went wrong, I had to stop. So what I do now is when something happens, so we get in a conversation and it's, you know, there's obviously everyone has dramas or problems, you know, it's life, yeah. I'll stop. I won't speak because where before I would just fly off the handle, you know, that was my mistake. Now I stop. I absorb everything. I think, I process it all. And my wife hates it because she's like, why aren't you talking to me? You know, why are you quiet? What's wrong? Or something will happen, I'll start laughing. And she goes, what are you fucking laughing for? Like, this is serious. I'm like, do you see what we're getting upset at each other about? It's so fucking minor. Like, so that's why I start laughing. Sometimes she goes, you're an idiot. Why are you laughing? But it's just, it's just respectful. Mm-hmm. And going back to our kids, which is where I was going before, my daughters see that. So they come once a fortnight after holidays. They see the way that I treat my wife. They see Jess and my relationship. And it's a loving household. It's peaceful. Do you know what I mean? So I guess the girls see when they come to us, they see that, and that's normal for them.
It's an example for their future too.
100%. I never smack them. I don't yell at them. I'm firm, but I don't raise my voice at them. I don't smack. I want to show them. I want to lead by example to my girls because like you and like yourself, you got a daughter, right? So if she goes to get a boyfriend when she's older, what type of man is she going to look for? Yeah. What's her father like? Mm-hmm. So if she gets a boyfriend and he's like nowhere near you, mate, they're gone. Do you know what I mean? Because you've set that example, you know. And I also want my son to grow up and see the way that I treat his mum. And, you know, like take her flowers, be kind to her. And we send each other these, you see them all the time on Instagram. You see how the boys copying the dad, the role model, right? And that, to be able to have that with my son would make me so proud, you know, because that's the example I want to lead.
Yeah. Monkey see, monkey do.
That's right.
And people don't understand that they do copy everything you do.
They're like a sponge.
Even from a young age. Like my daughter's 2, even when she was 1, she started to copy little things that we were doing. And it's like, okay, you really got to be careful here of how you act and how you show up because they will see that and they'll start implementing that. Yeah. And as a dad, to have the awareness to pick up when you may be doing something that doesn't align with how you want your kids to be, it's very important that we do put a nip in the butt and be like, fuck, all right, as you do, just take a pause, assess everything. And also for your kids, like you may be getting angry and then you just pause what does that teach them? Emotional regulation, right?
Yep.
So many kids can't even regulate their own emotions.
Yep.
It stems from the household because their parents can't do it.
That's right.
So as parents, if we can regulate our own emotions and create a safe space for our kids to do the same thing, when they go out into the real world and they're hit with adversity, because it's going to happen, they're going to be able to regulate themselves and be able to go through that adversity instead of crumble.
That's right.
For you, this period of being a dad, being a husband, but then also business, it's not easy, as we've just discussed.
Yeah.
Why glass though? I'm very interested in glass. Like I'm interested in the business. Like I know your dad kind of got you into all that.
Yep.
And for me, I grew up in a family business too, air conditioning.
Yes.
And I still do that 4 days a week. But my mindset is like it's not my passion. It's not what I want to do. Yep. But for you, I'm assuming you're passionate about what you do. So I'm intrigued to pick your mindset around that.
Yep.
Why are you so passionate about it?
Look, I followed my dad as a kid. All right. So my dad had a company in the 80s. I was a little boy. He got a jumpsuit made up with his company, had company name on it. And I'd follow him around weekends, growing up as a teenager, followed him. And I was just good at it. Started when I was 16 doing high school and then became an estimator at 19. But for me, it's more than that. I guess when I became an estimator, I had already worked on the floor. I'd worked on site. I knew what it was like to be everywhere. And I made sure that now being a senior role, I spoke to people. I asked people, even my employees to today, I don't say, oh yeah, Jeff, go and do that. I say, hey Jeff, do you mind doing that for me? And sometimes he laughs at me and he goes, I'm your boss. Like, why are you asking me? Yeah. I'm just passionate about what I do. Like I love the industry that I'm in. I like doing things the right way. So there's a lot of guys. So there's no regulation at the moment to an extent in our industry. So I can build you Centrepoint Tower, and my mum can give you a certificate for the work that I've done, and nobody's going to blink an eye.
Really?
Yep. People are putting the wrong stuff in houses and giving certificates. Nobody checks it. There's no regulator in New South Wales for the window industry. And I like to put forward the fact that we're doing the right things, where, we're going above and beyond, where all of my stuff is tested, we don't cut corners. I'm just really passionate about what I do, and I like to teach people about it. So I don't know how to answer that any other way, really.
Is the passion around like helping people and being like serving people at a high level?
Yeah, look, I would probably say so, because look, if you rang me today and you wanted something that I don't do, I would be more than willing to give you a number of somebody who can help you. Or I had a lady that came in not too long ago. She had an acoustic problem with her house. She's got windows. So I gave her so much advice, right? And she walked away and she wrote me the nicest. I'm happy to tell you, like, I'm happy to give you that information. Like, yeah, I guess so. It must be. Yeah, I've never really sort of sat down and thought about why, to be honest.
And also being a leader, leading by example, you just mentioned this scenario where you ask your workers if they can do it, not tell them.
Yeah, yeah.
There's so many bosses out there who just go, do this, do this, do this, whereas you're leading by example.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming you're not going to ask them to do something that you won't do yourself.
I still go down and sweep the floor if I need to.
And that actually transmutes into you being a father and a dad as well, because you're going to be a leader of the household. And it all kind of intertwines. And I wanted to come back into fatherhood. What are some of the core values that you want to instill into your kids, but then they also transmute into the business and being a leader now?
Yeah. Honesty's got to be the biggest thing, I think. I think the one thing that growing up, my sister and I always had with my parents was they always said to us, always tell us the truth. If you tell the truth, you're not going to get in trouble, And there's things that I've told my parents that if anybody else, you wouldn't tell your parents the things that I've told mine. We've got such a great relationship, and I want to have that with my kids. I want them to feel safe, and I want them to be able to talk to me so I can help them. You know, I think it's so important. Is teaching them what you've learned so that they don't have to make the same mistakes. Or if they make the mistakes, that's okay, but you've given them that sort of knowledge that from your mistakes.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. It's as parents, we make the mistakes.
Yes.
So our kids don't have to go through them, and that's why, for me, it's a big thing to be open in our conversation with our kids and telling them the shit that we've done wrong.
Yep.
Because then they understand, oh, well, my dad's done that.
Yep.
And this is how I can learn from it.
Yep.
Whereas people maybe tend to hide certain things and don't want to expose their kids to, like, I understand to a certain degree, but I feel like being open and honest will also create that trust and a stronger relationship with your kids. So then when shit does go wrong, who are they going to come to?
Yep.
You. And especially having girls, when they go into teenage years, I dread that. But it's so important to build that trust and that relationship there. Yeah. So when stuff goes wrong, they're calling you.
Just buy a Harley Davidson and get some head tattoos, mate. That's all right.
Shave my head.
Shave your head, get some head tattoos.
Are you dreading that day when your daughter?
No, not really. Look, it's going to be challenging. I know that. But look, one thing my parents told me is all they can do is teach you the best they can, and hopefully it all goes the right way. So all I can do as a father is show up and be a role model, like when I do have them, and show them what their dad's like. And they know me. Like, I know I don't get them often, or as often as I'd like. Sometimes I can't take them because I'm also working. So I do also want them to spend time with my parents.
Mm-hmm.
But I just like to hope that one day they look back and go, do you know what? Like, I don't want to do that because my dad, like, he's shown me how to do the right thing. He's led by example. He's a decent person.
If your daughters were in the next room, they're having a conversation about you.
Yeah.
What would you like them to say about you?
Oh, look, I don't need to. I don't know if that's a question, because what I'd like them to say, I'd like them.
Well, what do you feel like they'll say?
I know what they're going to say. Look, their mum and other people say bad things about me, and I talk to my girls and they say, Dad, we don't like what they're saying, but we know that's not the truth. You're the most amazing dad in the world. Do you know what I mean? Like,
how does that feel?
Fuck, I can't explain that. It's like when you found out you're having a child, first time you held her. How did that feel?
Man, they say you don't know true love until you hold your own flesh and blood, right? It's a whole new level of love that unless you're a father, you will not know.
Well, you can't explain it.
Yeah.
It's just a feeling you can't, and that's exactly how I feel. When we're hearing that from my girls, and that's where I know that regardless of the noise around them when I'm not around, or regardless of the fact that I'm not with them all the time, or they don't get to spend as much time as they want with me either, I'm doing something right.
Yeah. And I think that's awesome. And I think it shows the job that you're doing as a dad to also show them not to, I guess, believe everything that other people say and go with what's true in their heart.
Yeah.
And turn up as, I guess, their true self, not being a sheep and following what everyone else does. So that's awesome that you've instilled that into them. It's so pivotal.
Well, I think with kids, right, they're brutally honest.
Yes.
They know something about you that they're not meant to tell people. They don't know that. They're going to say, hey, Dad, whatever, and you might be embarrassed right then and there because it was like, that's something you don't want everyone to know. But kids are brutally honest. And I think when they, 6, 7, 8, around sort of that age, kids are smart. Yeah. So it wouldn't matter what people like. Of course, it matters because obviously it has an impact on their feelings and how they cope. But when people say things to them that they don't see, that they, like say that people say things about me in front of them, or they hear it, you know. They see their dad. My dad's not doing that. My dad's not doing that. My dad treats me like that. You know, like they're not dumb.
No, they're definitely not. Even my daughter now, she's fucking smart.
Yeah.
Like even like with technology and everything like that, I was like, imagine when you are 10 years old or 16 years old, like how much smarter are these kids these days? It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's scary too.
Yeah.
With business.
Yep.
When we were speaking off air before, you said you got to grab yourself by the balls, all right?
Yes.
And I guess have that self-belief and just go all in on the business.
Yeah.
What was it like for you to grab yourself by the balls and go, you know what, I'm going all in on
I'm
this?
still scared every single
Yeah.
day. Yeah, it's fucking scary. I think the first time was jumping to a bigger factory. So that first time with my dad, after 12 years being in one place, we jumped to another factory. That was pretty full on. But then it was just like the next and the next and the next. And now it's like I'm being told no more. I'm very impatient. I think if you can master the skills of being patient, then you're already one step ahead of everybody else. But yeah, like I said to you before, you make a plan. I'm a big believer of plan something out and then go for it. And especially when you set your goals for the year, shoot high. Because even if you don't hit them, you're going to be a lot further than what you would have if you had goals that are easier to attack, if that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, it's like aim for the stars, and even if you land in the clouds, like you still achieve so much.
That's right.
And people underestimate how much you can achieve in such a short amount of time too. And it's about picking a big goal, but also reverse engineering it into small steps, because people may see that big goal, but, oh, wow, that's too big. I can't tackle that. But once you break it down into small, achievable steps, it's just about turning up and taking one step after another, right?
Of course.
Do you do a lot of goal setting and planning for your business now?
Yeah, look, at the end of every year, I write a big list. So for New Year's, I don't write. What is it?
That New Year's resolution bullshit.
I don't do that shit anymore.
People stick with it for 2 days and then
not going to get pissed, and then you know, or not going to party anymore. And then next weekend after, you know, long week after the New Year's Eve, it's, you know, have a big bender. Yeah, I don't do that. But what I do is I write goals, and some of my goals are extremely far-fetched.
yeah.
You know,
what are some of your big goals?
Oh, look, I wanted, you know, my goals for this year. Well, I didn't write them this year because I still had so much going on last year. I knew that last year was going to be the biggest year of my life. I went for IVF with my wife. I started, so a couple of years before.
So your son wasn't actually considered?
No, because I had to snip.
Oh.
So I didn't want any kids. I wasn't going to have any more kids. No.
You got the one where it's not irreversible.
You can reverse it, but then you can also retrieve. So instead of getting it reversed and then trying your luck, you might as well just go in there and just get it done, you know, instead of reversing it.
Yeah, okay.
You probably want to get to snip later anyway.
Yeah, okay.
So yeah, we did IVF, and that was an experience in itself, to be honest.
Wow, I've never spoken about IVF. So what was that experience like? Or what are some of the things that you had to go through, or some of the lessons that you learned through that?
Yeah, look, we were seeing one, like, you got to be very, very careful where you go, because there's a lot of doctors out there, even though they've got a good name, they just want your money. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So we were seeing one, and it was well known, and it was going to cost heaps. But what I didn't know, my sister actually, she's head of marketing, I think, for Merck Sharp and Doan. So she deals in the IVF side of things. So I don't know exactly what she does, but she's got a role in that. So she knows sort of who are good and who aren't. So she told us to go to this other lady, which we did. Oh shit, that's an experience, isn't it? Well, getting the snips is an experience too. You know,
that's vulnerability at its finest.
Yes, you sort of can't walk for a couple of days after, but you have to just suck it up. It's very much the same with getting IVF. So
wait. I want to ask you, how do they retrieve your sperm?
Like, needle, mate.
Needle straight in the sack?
In a nut sack.
Come on.
And They said, "Do you want to be knocked out?" And I said, "Yes," because when I got the snip, I didn't get knocked out. You suck on the whistle, right?
Yeah.
And some bloody man, he whacked me on the nuts, and he said, "Oh." He made a lewd comment after I got the snip done, and I just thought, "Fuck, I'm never doing this again." I thought I'd be tough, and suck on the whistle. So I said to him, "Knock me out." So
Yeah.
they knocked me out, and then they prod you, and they extract the semen, obviously. So, and then my wife had to get her eggs extracted as well. So that was a bit of a process. But before that, we had to do tests, and my wife ate extremely. Like we eat very well, like healthy. So she's very conscious on that side of things. So she would do acupuncture and Pilates and all sorts. But once we got it done, it was kind of like, okay. Then my wife was like, "So I don't know if I want to have kids now." I'm like, "All right, whatever you look." At the end of the day, this is the other thing that I learned too, is you got to support your partner. So my wife supports me every day of the week. She turns up every single day for our son, for me, for the girls, for everybody. And I just said to her, "Look, at the end of the day, you make the choice. If you walk," and this is the one thing I said in my vows when we got married, is if you walk, I walk. If you walk, I walk. I don't walk in front of you. I don't walk behind you. I walk beside you. And having that in your partner is extremely important. Like, you're doing life's journey together, right? I mean, there's times where you need to be in front of your partner to shield them and protect them, but you're not sort of taking over them. You have to let them be a person too, right? And you should never be just following, because at the end of the day, if you're following, you're not your own individual either. So that's extremely important. I've got that with my wife, so I'm extremely lucky. But yeah, the IVF process is not an easy one. We were just extremely lucky and blessed to have it work the first time.
Yeah.
We paid for all the testing because obviously my daughter had some genetic disorders when she was born. We found out late in the pregnancy, so I was real scared. I didn't want to go through that again. No, I wouldn't wish that on my enemy. Yeah, and that's how hard it is. And when we found out everything was all right, and then we found out what sex he was going to be, I think that was one of the best days of my life, to be honest.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, so many people go through multiple IVFs to try and just get one child. And for you to be blessed on the first go with your little boy is awesome, man. Yeah, and the other thing is, so many people, so many bad, and I don't even say bad people, but so many people that have, don't lead good, healthy lives, have good, healthy kids. And there is quite a lot of good people that live good, healthy lives that have sick kids. Do you know what I'm sort of saying? I do. And I think that happens because whether you believe in God or whoever, I think they trying to learn a lesson, but also, how do I put this? You're probably the best suited for that challenge. Exactly. The others can't carry the cross. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I think it coming back to what I said before, life happens for you, not to you. And you're blessed with any child that comes into your life for a specific reason. Definitely. Even though it's challenging, even with a happy and healthy child, it's challenging. Yep. So with a child that has disabilities, it's obviously even more challenging, but there's plenty of lessons and growth that you're going to get through that too. Of course. And it all happens for a reason. Yep. And you mentioned marriage there, and it brought up a question in my head of going through that divorce, which was quite messy. Why jump into a marriage again? Well, what is your relationship with marriage? What does it mean to you? Marriage is a big thing to me. Like, I was lucky enough that I had two beautiful parents. I've got two beautiful parents. They got married. Old school values, right? It means, you get married, that's it, First time I thought it was like that, but I was wrong. I didn't want to. I told my wife now from the start. Didn't want a girlfriend. Didn't want to get married. Didn't want kids. So if that's what you wanted me, you're not getting it.
And I was straight up with her, like we'd seen each other for like 4 weeks. And that's exactly how I said it to her. And then it all changed. I didn't even want to move in with her. But then as life happened and you realised, hey, that's your mate. Do you know what I mean? Like you've got the boys, you've got best mates, right? You know those ride or die mates that would you ring up any time of the night, they'd be there for you. You know, they've done that day in, day out for however many years. But when you meet your partner, and you've got that connection with them, you have to, sometimes you have to take a chance. You do. And it's like I said to my wife, I said, listen, this doesn't work. I'm moving to Bali. All right. You never see me again. She goes, what if we got kids? I said, I don't care. I'm not going through divorce again. And she goes, and she obviously cried, and she's like, she doesn't ever want to talk like that because marriage means so much to her too. And yeah, we love the little family we've created.
That's awesome, man. And I can feel that love and that energy that you have for your family.
Yeah.
And it's so important for your little ones to be in that environment, and also for yourself and your wife too. So, man, keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
But I want to ask you, who is the man that you want to be in 5 years' time? Because we're always growing, we're always evolving. There's always things that we want to work on as a man. But for you, who is that man in 5 years' time?
Oh, man, they could look back at all the shit that I'm going through now and just go, hey, you shouldn't have worried as hard as you did. You shouldn't have stressed, you shouldn't have had those sleepless nights like you did. I guess, look, if I can, in 5 years' time, if I can not be waking up 2:30 in the morning to go to work every day, that would be a big achievement. But certainly one that I'm passionate about leading. I guess what you said to me before about, about the company, about, I guess I love leading. I couldn't work for anybody else. I don't think so. But I care. And I think, look, if I can be a loving, caring man and continue to evolve in what I've sort of become in the last 5 years to who I am now, because I used to be hot-headed, used to be fly off the handle. I couldn't handle my emotions. I'd fight people all the time. Like it's not a good look, especially like if you're a businessman. You can't do that. If I can continue to be a loving, caring, compassionate person and grow, then I think, I'll probably look back and think, be proud about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Being a positive role model for your kids and for the community as well, because from Western Sydney to have role models like yourself that have grown up in the area, have gone through basically everything that these kids are going through, to then come out the other side and, have a loving family, have a business, have goals and aspirations. This is what these kids need. This is what the community needs, to have role models like yourself.
Yeah.
And I mentioned to you before, like, it doesn't have to be, top profile athletes or really highly successful business owners. Like, it's just, you can have a small business and still be happy with your life. Right?
Yeah.
It's just having those goals, those aspirations. But what's most important is leading with love.
Yeah.
Leading with empathy.
Yeah.
And gratitude too is a big thing for life. And you're definitely doing that. So, man, keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, cheers.
Chris, we have a closing tradition on the podcast where the previous guest leaves a question for the next guest without knowing who it is. So The question for you is, what was the worst situation in your life that actually became the best thing that ever happened to you?
That's easy. My divorce.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to say it now. Like, it's at the time that was the worst thing that ever happened to me in my life. But I made peace with it some time ago, and I was grateful. Thankful that it had happened, because it moved me to where I am now, to become the man I am now, to be with who I am now. So without that bad thing that happened at the time, I wouldn't be here today.
Chris, thank you, man.
Thanks, mate.